my sister Diane Key and I both have been diagnosed with Hashimoto's over the last, I don't know how many years ago it's been for you. I think it's been close to 5 or 6 years now for me, and 20 years ago almost with fibromyalgia. And so autoimmune disease, and there are others in our family with autoimmune disease, Hashimoto's and other. And so we're very familiar, and because we live it. And yes. So we know that you may be here this morning or this afternoon, tonight, whenever it is that you're watching, you may have just gotten a new diagnosis, or you may have symptoms going on that you can't find answers for, and you've been to every doctor in the countryside and spent a ton of money. That was my story, and it was a difficult thing getting a diagnosis. I don't know for you, Diane, what was that like?
Well, I think for years I had the symptoms. And like you, Dana, I went to every kind of doctor. I went to orthopedist. I went to my regular physician. I went to chiropractors. I went to even acupuncture. I did all kinds of things to try to alleviate the symptoms, not knowing what was causing it. Anyway, finally, at my chiropractor office, I saw the other chiropractor, I'm thinking, and she's the one that suggested to me, she said, you might want to have your doctor do these particular tests.
Yeah, the TPO antibodies.
Right, because we knew I had hypothyroidism.
Yeah.
And I had been on medicine for that for years. So we knew that. But then for her to come back and say, you need to have this checked, it came back absolutely positive. My C-reactive protein, which I am thinking is it tells how much inflammation is in your body, and mine was off the charts.
Yeah.
So they couldn't, every time I'd get an x-ray on a shoulder or a wrist or a knee or a foot or whatever, because I had it all.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I would, they'd say, nothing's broken, nothing's this, nothing looks out of normal range, but I knew I had pain. So it was all based on inflammation or from inflammation. So anyway, so to me, Hashimoto's is just we're always fighting inflammation. That is the goal, is to get rid of the inflammation for me.
Yeah. And so we know that, first of all, if you do have thyroid issues, and you're having all kinds of other issues, pain, for me, it was definitely around my feet. I was, the tendonitis and that kind of stuff is very normal too with that. But for me, brain fog was my biggest thing. I thought I had Alzheimer's. I really was terrified that I had Alzheimer's. And I was so relieved to find out that my diagnosis was Hashimoto's. It is not a death sentence, and it can be so easily brought into submission if you just know a few things that will help to reduce inflammation and take those inflammatory foods, first and foremost, out of your diet. But second of all, to start really paying attention to all the toxins. And toxins is a very controversial word, I'm learning, but all of the let's just say the ingredients, the microorganisms that get into our system that our liver and other organs have to try to figure out and process. Because part of what's going on with Hashimoto's and most all other autoimmune issues is your liver and your gut system are overtaxed. So your gut system becomes inflamed. Your liver is really overtaxed and it's just bogged down and sluggish. And so, it may be you're out of energy. It may be brain fog. It may be pain. It may be all of the above, and you're just thinking, like for me, people were saying, well, Dana, because when I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, I was in the process also of menopause.
Yeah.
And so my doctor was saying, well, it's menopause. I was sent to rheumatologist, endocrinologist, and then all the things you listed too, Diane. And I ended up going to a hormone therapist basically for my menopause, because I said, well, if this is menopause, dag nabbit, I need some help. So, I had heard about the change, but every woman in my family had a hysterectomy pretty young.
Yeah. I had one at 31.
Yeah. And Mama, I think hers was in her early 40s, 50s.
Yeah, she was 50 something. Yeah.
But anyway, I just didn't have any females in my life really who could tell me about menopause or who I could kind of compare myself to. So I didn't know. All I knew is it was bad. I didn't like it. But come to find out, it wasn't just menopause. Menopause was kind of one of those triggers that kind of tipped the bucket, so to speak, and said, okay, you can only take so much. And now you've got all these changes. You've got all this other stuff going on. We're sick.
When you're first diagnosed like that, Dana, but actually before you are diagnosed and you have all these things going on, it feels like everything is wrong. Everything is off. Like talk about chemical imbalances. I mean, it just feels like everything is wrong.
You're an emotional wreck. You're not sleeping. Goodness, I could go on with the list because you're right. It's everything. You don't even know where to go or what doctor to start with. You have so many symptoms.
And it is like a perfect storm when it's about the time of menopause, like you said.
Well, when I was diagnosed with my first autoimmune disease, I had just given birth to my third child, and I was 41 years old. And so, people were saying, oh, Dana, you're midlife, you just had a baby, you're going to feel that way. This is postpartum stuff, and so all of that got explained away for a little bit then. And it ended up being fibromyalgia, which I went into the hospital feeling 20, having a baby in my, early 40s, and then came out feeling like I was 98 and a half. And like I needed a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And,
well, listen, I remember before I was diagnosed, I really thought, and I've been diagnosed for 2 years, I guess now, 2.5 years. And I thought I'm going to be in a wheelchair by the time I'm 60. And because I could not walk, I could not, like, jumping out of a chair just to get, go to the kitchen or answer a phone that's across the room, was almost next to impossible. So it was, I felt like I was 90 for sure. So that is definitely, and people mean well, Dana, but people will say, well, you're just getting older.
I know. Even my doctor was saying that.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not, because I was like 54, 55 years old. And I'm like, nope, I'm not buying that one. I'm not hooked onto that one because I'm planning to live to be 90 like my mom and daddy. And, I've got 35, 40 more good years. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. So don't buy into that. That is an excuse when a doctor or someone just doesn't have an answer.
Yeah.
And so many doctors are really, truly, I think it's improving, but so many, and they'll tell you themselves. So I'm not accusing doctors of being ignorant of anything, but I had doctors to say, look, we're not trained on that. I don't know that much about the immune system. I don't know about inflammatory foods and what improves that and all of that. All I know is I can send you to the lab and I can get this lab done and I can tell you, do you have this or that? But how to fix it, I can't tell you. I can put you on a medicine that will treat your symptoms.
Yeah.
And that is really what they want to do. Don't do that.
Listen, my doctor, I have to give him some kudos because he really did say to me, he said, Diane, I really don't know about all this. He knew I wanted to go a natural route anyway, because I had just come off of my estrogen hormone. Anyway, I had just come off of that because I didn't like that in my system. So he knew I wanted to go a natural route. So he was saying, you do the research, you find out on your own. And so I started, first of all, I did have the advantage of you being diagnosed before me. So I asked you, and you were all kinds of help. But I was telling you earlier, I searched out YouTube. I would put in YouTube a search for, natural kind of ways to Hashimoto's. I wanted natural kind of things I wanted to hear from somebody that had gone through it and their symptoms were no more, like their numbers had gone down. So anyway, and I found people like that. So it is possible. And I think, Dana,
me too. Like my TPO antibody level is under 9. And when I was first diagnosed, it was up over 100.
Yeah. I don't even remember all that, but
And
I know, but you want to seek out people that have been through it. And that's why this little group is so helpful, because if you're in the beginning stages of this, you can look at somebody and say, they've already been there. They know what they're talking about. And like you and I, Dana, we talked a little bit about this before this video. I was on the right track as far as doing, no gluten, no sugar, no all of these things that are huge triggers for the inflammation.
Yeah, they're inflammatories.
Yeah. And as long as I stick to that, I feel pretty great. I'll just be honest.
Easy to do. We say, and that was one of the things I wanted to bring out on here is there are people out there, and I know some that I talked to, and they scared me to death. And they're like, you have to go to this doctor and this doctor. And I went across country to this doctor and I got on this protocol and I'm like, oh my gosh, who has the money, time, and resources to do that? So I didn't at the time. And I was like, I can't. I just can't do that. And so I went back to the simple protocol that I used when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, almost 20 years ago, and got better very quickly and felt like $1 million. And that was exactly what you're saying. Eliminate all the inflammatories. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't an easy thing to do, and I didn't have a coach or help or anybody that was going through this. In fact, everybody I talked to kind of acted like I was bugged out or crazy or hypochondriac or whatever, or an alien for trying to eliminate, all the things from my diet. And like I was just running on some hype, and but it worked, and I know I was a true believer. And so I knew when it came time to treating another autoimmune disease, and look, you and I both said this a million times, if you have one, there's another lurking right around the corner, because the stage is set up the same for another attack, just in a different area, and then it's given a different name. But it all comes from the same source. It's inflammation. Right. So that is one of the things that led me to coaching and helping people, because along the way, people did see, wow, Dana was really sick and feeling really bad. And now she's feeling really good. And she dropped 35 pounds in the process. Something's happening that's good, that I want to know more about.
Yeah.
So people were reaching out to me, but so often they would say, oh, I just can't do that. I just can't go without this or that. And I'm like, well, so it's not easy, but that's what led me to coaching, because I wanted to show people that it is so doable, and it becomes part of your lifestyle that doesn't make you feel like an alien. And right. Once you get under control, you can.
I do want to point this out though, because like when you have it under control, when you're doing all the right things, when you're eating all the right things, and you're getting the proper exercise, and you're getting the proper rest, because all of that plays into it.
And stress, we were talking, let's talk stress in a minute too.
Anyway, when you're doing all the right things and you're drinking lots of water, that's a big deal too. Then you do happen to have, let's say, a piece of cake at a birthday party. It's not necessarily that just throws you back way out there, but you definitely know it. Yeah. And your body is saying, that does not belong here. That does not belong here. And if you listen to the signs of your body, you will be able to do it, because, you want to feel good. Life is not worth living very much if you don't really feel good. I'm just going to that sounds pretty bad, but you know what I mean.
It's true. And I know you used to say a lot that I eat the way I do because I don't like pain.
Right. Yeah.
And
I need to listen, I have gotten off track, and I'll just be honest with you. I have gotten way off track, and the days that I get back on track, it doesn't take long before you're feeling good. Once you might veer off track for even months, I will say, because it's been a while. But then, like the days that you really are on track, you see such a difference.
Such an improvement. When I start people on, what I really know that worked for me and so many others, they are amazed at how quickly they see improvement.
Yeah.
It's quite remarkable because it's just giving your body a break from fighting against all of the stuff.
Yes. Amen, sister.
Well,
let me go back to one little thing that I mentioned about searching through YouTube and all of that. You can come across a lot of, one lady stressed me out bad.
Yeah.
You mentioned that a little bit too. But because she was saying, you need to get all these different supplements. You need to go to the store. You need to get this and this and this and this. And I went and I bought everything I could buy that she told me to buy. And my body was not absorbing it because my nutrition was not in line with that.
Right.
And I can't stress that enough.
Start with nutrition.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up. And also you did mention that word stress. And so let's end on that because we're living in stressful times.
Yes.
Stress is an inflammatory.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
You see Diane is an artist, and behind her, she spends a lot of her spare time painting. And she does that, she says, as a stress reliever. So talk about that just a minute and stress and how that plays a part in the way you feel and your overall symptoms with Hashi.
Well, all of us need some kind of hobby anyway, some kind of something that we go to de-stress. And for me, I started painting. I didn't even know that I could paint. I didn't know that I could even draw any of that. And it just kind of happened. And I just think it's a miraculous kind of thing. And I'm not saying I'm a wonderful artist, but it definitely gives me that tool to just escape. Like, I'm not a big reader, like to get into a book and escape in a book. I don't even really like movies so much. But when I get alone with a canvas and some paint and I've got an idea in mind that I want to come up, create, it just brings it just makes you escape from what is going on around you a little bit. And we all need that to some degree. And then when you find out that you have created something, that's a whole different thing. Like it makes you feel like, wow, I can do that. So it's kind of like, it's an ego booster a little bit too, that you're able to do something. We all have our talents, and some of them have been hidden for years. So seek your talent out.
If you don't use them, you lose them.
That's right. I just want all these behind me. Well, most of them are like winter scenes because I'm working on my winter stuff, but Christmassy stuff. Let's see. Am I going the right direction? I think I am. See, all of those are just like winter stuff. And I have a Christmas tree down here. I do boards. I do all that. But anyway.
Whimsical Christmas tree.
I love it. It's going to go on my front porch, I think.
I need my front porch.
Well, we could make that happen. I keep saying that. And then this one I just did last night. I love that one.
Yep.
And my lion. My lion was supposed to look ferocious.
He has the part in his head. He looks cute.
He's cartoonish. He's not like I envisioned it. But anyway, it's
you can hook into Diane. She has a Facebook group out there. What's the name of your Facebook group?
It's called Acrylics by Diane.
Yeah. And Diane with twins.
Yeah.
So you guys check her out. Look at all of her paintings in there. It might be something that you like.
Yeah.
You need for your front porch or other place. So anyway, we're going to end on that note. We try to keep these videos short. Sometimes we don't do such a great job. Gracie is up here in my lap. She said,
Hey, Gracie. Hey,
I
baby.
need to go potty. So she was wondering, I had to grab her up. So anyway, we're going to see y'all next time. I hope this has been helpful. Please, any questions or comments, list below. I'll be happy to address those, or Diane, whomever you might have those for. And check out my website. From my website, there's my YouTube channel. Diane also has a YouTube channel where she does blogs and Bible studies. And if you're one of her Facebook friends, you will see that she has lots of inspiration from God's word every day posted on there. So anyway, let's reach up and grab hold of our help. We all have our help, and you know, we can also be a help to one another. So anyway, I would love to help maybe share some information or share some assistance with you. So anyway, on that note, we're going to go. We hope you enjoy your day and be healthy.
That's right. Bye.
Bye-bye.